It's been 2 months since the divorce papers were finalized. 2 months of trying to piece my life back together, one shattered fragment at a time. The house, once filled with laughter and the comfortable silence of two people in love, now echoed with a deafening emptiness. Every corner held a memory, every object a ghost of a shared past. My ex-wife, Sarah, had moved on with a speed that left me breathless and heartbroken. She was already living with someone new, someone she'd known while we were still married. The betrayal was a bitter pill I was still struggling to swallow. I spent most of my days in a haze, going through the motions, wake up, drag myself to work, come home to an empty house, and stare at the ceiling until sleep offered a temporary escape. Friends called, but I rarely answered. Their well-meaning advice and pity felt like salt in a gaping wound. I just wanted to be left alone, to marinate in my own misery. Then, one rainy Tuesday evening, there was a knock on my door. It was hesitant at first, then a bit more firm. I wasn't expecting anyone. I considered ignoring it, but something pushed me to my feet. I peered through the peephole and my heart skipped a beat. It was Emily, Sarah's younger sister. I hadn't seen her since the wedding, years ago. She looked drenched, clutching a large, overstuffed tote bag, her expression a mix of anxiety and determination. I opened the door, a million questions swirling in my mind. Why was she here? Had Sarah sent her? Emily just stood there for a moment, rain dripping from her hair onto my welcome mat. Can I come in? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. I stepped aside and let her in, my confusion growing with every second. She looked around the living room, her eyes lingering on the empty spaces on the walls where our wedding photos used to hang. I know. This is weird, she started, wringing her hands. Sarah doesn't know I'm here. In fact, she'd be furious if she found out. That caught my attention. Then why are you here, Emily? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral, even though my insides were churning. She took a deep breath. Because what she did to you is wrong, she said, finally meeting my gaze. And because I need a place to stay. Just for a little while. My first instinct was to say no. Having any part of Sarah's family under my roof felt like a recipe for disaster. It was too complicated, too messy. But looking at Emily, seeing the genuine distress in her eyes, I hesitated. She looked lost, much like I felt. What happened? I asked gently. It turned out Emily had found out about Sarah's affair long before I did. She'd confronted her sister, trying to get her to end it, to fight for her marriage. But Sarah had refused, telling Emily to mind her own business. Their relationship had been strained ever since. The final straw came when Sarah and her new partner announced they were moving to another state, and they'd basically kicked Emily out of the apartment they all shared. She had nowhere else to go. I couldn't stand by and watch her treat people like they're disposable, Emily said, tears welling up. First you, now me. I'm so sorry, Mark. For everything. Hearing her apology, something I'd never get from Sarah, cracked open a window in the dark room of my grief. It wasn't pity she was offering, it was solidarity. I saw in her the same sense of betrayal I was feeling. Against my better judgment, I said yes. I showed her to the guest room, the one we'd always planned to turn into a nursery. It felt strange, having someone else in the house, but it was a different kind of presence. It wasn't the haunting silence of loss. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee. Emily was in the kitchen, making breakfast. It's the least I can do, she said with a small smile. Slowly, day by day, Emily's presence began to change the atmosphere of the house. We fell into a comfortable routine. We'd have dinner together, talking about our days. She was a great listener, and for the first time in months, I found myself talking about what I'd been through, really talking. Not just the anger, but the sadness, the confusion, the feeling of failure. Emily didn't offer empty platitudes. She just listened and understood. She encouraged me to start doing things I used to love. One weekend, she dragged me out of the house to go hiking, something Sarah had always hated. As we stood at the summit, looking out at the world, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a very long time. It was like I could finally breathe again. Emily was reintroducing me to myself, the person I was before my identity became entangled with being a husband. We started cooking together, trying new recipes. The kitchen, once a place of silent, lonely meals, was filled with laughter as we navigated culinary disasters and triumphs. We binge-watched entire TV series, debating plot twists and character arcs. The house started to feel like a home again, but a new kind of home. It was being rebuilt on a different foundation, one of friendship and mutual support. Of course, the inevitable phone call from Sarah came. She was furious, accusing me of trying to turn her family against her. I calmly told her that Emily was an adult who had made her own choice, and that I was simply helping a friend in need. The conversation was short and bitter, but when I hung up, I didn't feel the usual gut punch of sadness. I felt detached. Her drama no longer had a hold on me. One evening, about a month after she'd arrived, Emily and I were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. "Thank you, Mark," she said quietly. "For what?" I asked. "For everything. For giving me a safe place to land. You saved me." I shook my head. "I think we kind of saved each other," I replied, and I meant it. She had pulled me out of my self-imposed isolation and shown me that life didn't end with a divorce. It could begin again. I realized that my anger towards Sarah was fading, replaced by a strange kind of gratitude. Her betrayal had led me down a dark path, but it had also, indirectly, brought Emily into my life. Her sister, the one person I never would have expected, became the catalyst for my healing. She knocked on my door as a stranger in need, but she stayed as a friend who helped me find my way back to the light. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel scary. It felt hopeful. And it all started with a knock on the door on a rainy Tuesday night. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone and things can get better. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.